Over the past decade, great advances have been made in the medical community toward promoting the presence of LGBT providers. Many apprehensions still exist among LGBT students and future physicians regarding the application process and being out in medicine. This program presents a conversation among 4 LGBT Boston University medical students discussing the process of matching and couples matching into residency programs.
Okay, so did you make another effort to be out in your applications for residency?
So a lot of my activities that I did, like I was on MedGlow, most of my research was with LGBT patients, so it would be impossible to hide it, so it was sort of everywhere on my application. I didn't really talk about it in my essay, I didn't, just because it felt like it would be kind of like overkill.
Right.
But I didn't feel like I needed to hide it at all when I was applying.
Yeah. For me, I just felt like putting Kate's name on the couples match box was enough to say, like, okay, here. I didn't explicitly include like the MedGlow activities that we had done or anything like that. Just one, because it didn't fit on my application, and two, just I didn't think it played a huge overarching part in my medical school experience. So if they were going to notice that one thing, then they would probably be able to figure it out. There was no hiding it.
Yeah, it's same here. I just had Cinder's name on my application, but I didn't really have it anywhere else.
Great. So this is more a question for you guys. So in general, how was the couple match process? How does it work?
Well, it sounds complicated, but it's actually not that complicated. And when you figure it out, then it seems pretty straightforward. Essentially, you do just have the option to say yes or no to couples matching. Even if you are couples matching, you don't have to check that box till the end, so no pressure. And then you can put your partner's name or not. Okay. So if you're not comfortable putting your partner's name, you don't have to. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And this is a question for all of you guys. What were the key characteristics that got you to rank certain institutions?
Well, for me, it was mostly location. My boyfriend is a psychiatry resident in Chicago, so Chicago was sort of the goal to get to. I applied near home, like New York area and Boston, and mostly Chicago, and just to have places to rank. And also I sort of wanted to check out different places and see what the vibe was. And then as far as the actual rank itself, I think location is usually the biggest reason why people rank where they rank. And so that's why the top of my rank list were all Chicago programs. I think for me it was location. I think for most fourth years matching, location is one of the biggest issues. My boyfriend is a psychiatry resident in Chicago, so getting to Chicago is the goal of this entire process. And he's at a hospital at Rush, and I wanted to sort of be in the same area as him and sort of close the long distance gap that we've had through medical school.
I see.
Yeah. And when we started looking at programs, we essentially just took a map of the United States and cut off all of the states that we thought wouldn't be as same-sex friendly as other states. Right. And so we just wanted to be able to be comfortable in our neighborhoods, walking around, holding hands as a same-sex couple, and feel like we weren't being stared at. Yeah, God forbid. But so. And that's actually changed as we've gone through the interview process even. Right. But people were willing to engage us in that conversation. We knew that was going to be a better program than a program who forcibly ignored what we were trying to get at by matching together. So that the location, like Anu said, is really important. And obviously larger cities like LA, Boston, New York, that kind of thing are going to be more comfortable seeing two women walk down the street together, holding hands than, let's say, Louisiana. But I don't mean to be stereotypical, but
yeah.
And then for ranking at the end, it's, if you had a couple places that weren't as open to it or as friendly and you got that vibe, they were just lower on our list, or we didn't rank them at all. Right. And then I think you'll hear a lot fourth year, what you want to rank is you just have a good feeling about it. Right. And that's what we had.
Yeah. A lot of people do like algorithms and whatnot. So when my boyfriend matched last year, we actually went through the entire process sort of together because we did the same exact thing. Like he liked some programs like in the Deep South, and I was like, I'm not comfortable moving there as a person of color who's gay. So it's like, well, and so he ended up sort of ranking those lower, and so we stuck with the big cities that we knew were pretty gay friendly. Right.
Great. Now that we're talking about different places, were there any places in specific that were more welcoming than others?
I think, University of California, Davis was the overwhelmingly most accepting and excited about it.
They flat out said it like, this would be a great community for you.
Yeah. And sometimes they were almost uncomfortably like, pushing it. It's okay. We don't have, we don't have to know how many gay bars you have. But that's why we were so excited about Hopkins, though, was because you don't anticipate that Hopkins, this, old boys club institution, is going to be friendly for you. And it's not that they necessarily are extraordinarily friendly about it right now. It's just that that's the direction they want to go towards. And I think a lot of places are understanding that diversity is becoming more important in the med school process, and then making it next, trickling into the residency process. So Hopkins is there, and we thought, why don't we lead that with them? That was exciting.
Yeah, so I had this same exact experience. I hadn't encountered anything negative per se. Again, it was some either omission or people who just interviewers who didn't read my application closely enough. What did surprise me was there was actually a few like LGBT receptions that they had after all the interview season was over. This is for internal medicine, and they would invite faculty, residents, and other house staff members to come and just have an LGBT reception, and they put that in like that little slip in everyone's folder, so you didn't have to be out. It sort of was like just like a very nonchalant thing, and those were both 2 New York programs, which I liked a lot. But I thought that was really cool. I didn't even hear of that before from other people, and I think more schools are sort of heading in that direction.
Great.
Yeah, and I think a few gay residents did reach out to me in emails when they were sort of saying like, "Oh, we think you'd be a great fit here. The environment's very friendly." In that sense, it was great.
Ask them questions about LGBT being out, or were you just waiting for them to just kind of like being open and from reading your application, or did you make an effort of asking them?
That's a good question. I did not. I did not. At the resident dinners, I would openly say that I have a boyfriend or whatnot, and I would sort of gauge their reaction about that. But I didn't specifically ask any interviewers whether or not it was an LGBT-friendly place. Many of them went out of their way to tell me they were. I know in Ann Arbor, they were really trying to sell me that it's a very, like, even though this is a technically red state, we're a very blue dot in this red state, and I loved it, and it was nice that they sort of went out of the way to sort of talk about that. But I never was forward enough to ask.
Yeah, and we did the same thing sort of at the dinners beforehand. University of Minnesota, that should go on the happy welcoming list. They did that, we're really excited to talk to me about it at the dinner and whatnot. But the only place that I was forward enough to ask was Hopkins. Usually I would just, talk to the interviewer and they'd say, oh, well, what does your partner do, or what does your husband do? And it's like, A, you're being ridiculously assuming. B, like, could you at least look at my hand, no. But I would say, oh, she's matching into pediatrics, really obviously emphasizing it. So it's like, you can't miss what I'm about to say. My partner is a woman. What do you think? And then you watch their reaction. It was very fun. We were on 17 interviews, so there was 5 each. That's more than 100 people that we were talking to essentially, and it was really fun every time. But you wanted the place where they'd be like, oh, okay, blah blah, and continue on. Like, you didn't say something ridiculous like that. Oh, you're bringing a pink elephant to campus, and that was a good gauge. But Hopkins, I had thought that I knew the answer so well that I was just going to throw it in their face a little bit, and I'd said, well, how would somebody be accepted on your campus, blah, blah, and the program director answered right back at me, this is what we've been doing, we had this retreat and that and the other, and, she just named things that the university was actually doing, which showed that she was prepared to answer that question for me, which was very nice, and also made us a little more confident.
Great.
Yeah.
Can you also ask, what's the political climate, or the schools? You came up with that, midway.
Yeah, I would sneakily ask, what's the political vibe of the school, and if they were receptive, they kind of knew what I was trying to ask them without being like, hey, what do you do with your LGBT residents? Right. I don't want to be the LGBT resident representative. Residency is hard enough, and you don't want to be their go-to token, gay kid. You just want to be their resident. There's only 6 of us, so I don't know.
Yeah. I never blatantly asked questions about it. I think a lot of mine knew, and would try to weave it into the conversation, and it was just there. No one ever made a huge deal about it.
Oh, peds.
Great. And for the future medical students that will apply to residency, do you have any advice or things that you wish you knew before?
I don't know if I would do anything differently per se. And as far as the LGBT stuff, I mean, I was really happy and with being out, and like for me, it was like really important, and it was a really easy way for coming out without like overtly saying I am gay during the interview. Which, I prefer it that way, that they realize on their own than I have to sort of say it out loud.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, had we not put couples matching on our applications, there would be no way that people would know that. And that's fine and, not fine at the same time, because it is a big part of your life and you want to make sure that people are going to be accepting. So in terms of advice, though, I don't know how I would tell somebody to weave it in.
That being said, like I know a few members of our class and other friends who were not out on purpose on the application because they were afraid it would sort of hurt their chances in whatever field they were going into, which is unfortunate. It's a personal decision. It's just like coming out. It's really up to you whether or not you feel comfortable and you want to do it. For me, like I said, it would be impossible to hide. Like all my research, everything was dealing with sort of men's health and HIV. So it would sort of be like, I don't know. Yeah, my application would be a bit blank.
And also, you don't want to hide it and then get there and realize they're not okay with it.
Right.
And
then you're just going to be unhappy.
Right, and then to be like sort of closeted your entire residency as if it's not hard enough.
I mean, and I think the other thing that I would tell people applying is to trust BU when they say, BU has a good reputation. People across the country, know our name, and you come from a good school. And I thought, well, we come from Boston University. That's a pretty good school. No, it actually is very well respected.
Right.
I didn't realize that, I think, as much as I should have.
Yeah.
And I felt super prepared for all of my interviews. I felt super prepared in regards to my application and like all the events we do and the clubs we have and the activities. Come back to why you went here in the first place and realize that those reasons that you wanted to be a doctor and that you wanted to come to BU will come into play in your residency, like application and interview process. They understand certain things about you because you went to BU, and use them to your advantage because people like it and think it's impressive to people. And I didn't expect to get such great return on our applications. I mean, I applied to 47 and got 42 interview offers. And I think our class just smashed all of the, previous glass ceilings that anybody had. We matched so well. Every single person really matched amazingly well.
You guys do great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.